Hey everyone, welcome. It's about that time for Wives Wind Down. Yes. Oh, hey Princess. Hey Rynetta. Yes, I'm going to add you in just a second. I'm so glad to see you all. How's it going? Yay! I'm so proud of you, sis. I can't wait to bring you in. Just hold on real tight. I'm going to bring you on in just a second. Welcome, everyone, to Wives Wind Down. I am Shonda Brown White, and I'm so excited that you all have joined me tonight. I am just in awe of God because this was a vision that I had recently, and I've been praying about what God wanted me to do next and what he wanted me to do and in what way, because of everything else that I do and stuff. And he laid it on my heart to do this. And I kid y'all not, I'm already booked up for July and August, like done. Like, yeah, it's crazy. So I have some awesome guests, and I'm so excited for what's to come of this. I really just want this to be an outlet for women, whether you're married and you're like, what do I do once I'm married? Or maybe you're single and you aspire to be married at some point. Because I know when I was single, I was like, well, who's talking about like, once you actually get married, or even when if you are married, it's like you get married and then sometimes you feel like you're alone, and sometimes you're like, well, am I the only one going through this? So I wanted to create an outlet where we can just have some good old girl talk and keep it real about marriage and life and love and just what it's like to be a woman and, be married and, just the life that we live. So I'm so excited. I want to go ahead. Oh, yes. And by the way, I've been married for 12 years. Sorry, to my husband, Eric. Almost forgot because it's Wives Wind Down. And it'll be 12 years in September, actually, and 14 years total. So I'm so excited, and I'm so glad you all are joining because I know you could be doing anything else tonight. And so without further ado, let me go ahead and welcome our special guest for tonight. All right, here she comes. I'm so excited.
Hey, sis. How are you?
You did it.
I know. It's a miracle. It is a miracle.
You did it. Yes, I'm so proud.
It's a miracle.
Yes. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. It's been a great day. I've had a relaxing, enjoyable day. It's hot here in Kentucky, but I'm doing great.
Yes. See, technology.
How are you?
My girl's in Kentucky. I'm in Atlanta, and we still get to connect. But let me introduce you all to her really quickly. This is my dear friend, someone who, when I tell y'all we keep it 100 about marriage, like we will get on a FaceTime or we'll call or we'll text. Even sometimes it's me and her. Sometimes it's all four of us, our husbands. And we'll be like, listen, let me tell you what we argued about the other day. Or was I wrong for that? Or should I have said that? And we will check each other, whether it's all four of us or maybe just us. Because sometimes you just need that girlfriend who will keep it real with you and also won't like take sides, but will be honest. And Rynetta is my girl for that. Let me tell y'all, she is my sister. But more importantly, Rynetta is happily married to her best friend and biggest cheerleader, Toby. Yay! It's my brother. They will celebrate 17 years of marriage on July 26th. So this month, yes, yep. 17 years. Oh my gosh, we got to get into that. And she also, I should really be calling her Dr. Rynetta because she has a PhD in English and she loves shopping. I know because I've been to her house. So welcome, Rynetta.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited about this.
Yes. So first, so just for you all, if you're new to the platform, new to Wives Wind Down, welcome. Thank you. If you have questions, make sure you post them in the comments. I'll try to follow them. You might, whether it's during or maybe later on, or if you want to use the question box, feel free. If you have questions for myself or for Rynetta, and then towards the end, we'll try to ask some questions, and maybe even throughout, as well as at the end, we'll have a quick little rapid round. And I hope you ladies brought your glasses. What you got, sis? What you got?
I got some watermelon lemonade.
Okay, we'll take it. Okay, Because listen, it's Wives Rundown. So whatever relaxes you, whatever makes you feel like I'm with my girls, I'm chilling, I'm having some real talk, we're all about it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, sis, was how has life been for you and Toby, obviously during this quarantine?
That's a really great question because I think a lot of couples have either side of the spectrum, right? Either it's been fantastic or it's been a struggle. For us, it's been really great because I typically teach 2 days a week and then I'm home like the rest of the week. And so being home and in the space by myself is normal to me. So at the beginning of the quarantine, when Toby was here like 5 days a week, now he's here 2 days a week, we had kind of gotten adjusted to that rhythm. And also, Toby worked from home like when we moved back to Kentucky in 2008. So our schedules have been kind of compatible. So that didn't throw us.
Mm-hmm.
What has thrown us are those moments when, you know, you're used to being able to just kind of go out and get out of the house, right? You're used to being able to say, hey, let's go to the movies or let's call a couple of friends up and see if they want to go to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It's been it's just the two of us because we're not going to go and hang out with other people. And, you know, if other people don't know, we don't have children. So it's consistently just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been a challenge. It's been a challenge that I'm glad we've embraced, but there have been some, I don't like you moments. Can you go upstairs?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay downstairs for a little bit. Maybe we need a little timeout from each other. There have been those like, you know, I'm going to go to my corner, you go to your corner. There have been those moments, but I will say overall, it's been really positive and I've been grateful to have him in the house because I know that we're both safe.
Yes, I can totally relate because, like you said, sometimes you need those moments where it's like, even if you got a house, you got multiple rooms, or if you're in an apartment, you just like, I just need a little time, just a little space. And I say that, and it's not that we complain or anything because this is an open forum, we keep it real. But
Right,
it's
for
like,
sure.
if it was a roommate, if it was a family member, it doesn't matter who it was, they're bound to get on your nerves at some point, you know. So thank
No
you for
matter how
being real.
much you love them.
No matter how much you love them. You're like, I need you to park it upstairs and I'll go downstairs and I'll holler at you when I holler at you.
That's been our timeout. I'll stay
Yeah.
downstairs, you go upstairs.
Oh, I love it. One of the things I love is that you mentioned that Toby is like your biggest cheerleader. And obviously I know some of your like personal challenges and things you've gone through, but like, can you kind of expound a little bit more on like what that means to have support from Toby and what that looks like for you in your marriage?
Sure. That's another fantastic question. So to me, that means like no matter what I go through, I have somebody constantly in my corner saying, babe, you can do this. You got this. Do you know who you are? Like no matter what challenges I face, he's constantly saying, do you know who you are? Do you have any idea who you are?
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't get down on myself and stuck in spaces feeling like, oh, I can't do this, right? So he's constantly in the corner. And, you know, for people who don't know, I have a mild muscle weakening disease. And so there are even little moments, like if I'm trying to come up the stairs, he's like, you got this, you can do this. Just one more, you got this. So just that constant like sense of encouragement, always in my ear, always pushing me, always saying, if I say, hey, I'm going to do X, please pray that like I don't have any trouble when I get there. You're not going to have any trouble. Just like a constant source of encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
And in every aspect of my life. So personally, in my career, he was the person who encouraged me to start a blog, just constantly like saying, this is for you. What God has for you is for you. And you can do this. You can achieve this. And just being there every step of the way.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, you're willing to share as much as you want, but with what's the initials again? Because you know I
Myasthenia gravis, MG.
MG, because you know how you know your sis, I will mess up. But
You're fine.
talk to us a little bit more about that and having that you know, dealing with that, because I know you have to go like every few weeks to get your treatments and stuff. And so, and even your post a few weeks ago, it was so inspirational about dealing with that. But tell us a little bit more about how that's been, especially, you know, being married. Like, did you have that before you got married, and has it been challenging, or do you find that you've seen Toby really show up for you? I know personally, I see you all and how you all interact and how he constantly helps you when it maybe it's too difficult to get. And I just admire that, because I don't think a lot of people would be able or strong enough to stay around for that, or just have the patience for it. So I admired that between you two.
Yeah, no. So I think it's like this is the biggest, one of the biggest parts of our testimony is that. So I got diagnosed with myasthenia when I was a sophomore in undergrad. So when I met Toby, I had it, and for the most part, like 90% of the time, I feel really, really great. But if I feel bad, I feel bad. And there are days where, I might struggle to get up on a curb. I might get stuck in a seat. I might need a little help lifting something. And I remember very early on when we were dating, I started not to feel well when we got out of a car. And I was like, and I said to him, I don't know how I'm going to make it up these stairs. And he was like, well, I do. I'm going to put you on my back. And he bent down and and at that moment I was like, okay, God, you're doing something that I've never seen before. Yeah. Because like with any other relationships, I would just not disclose that I didn't feel well. Mm-hmm. I would, find a way to get where I needed to go without like having to, or I would just sit in the car or something and call a roommate. So with him, he literally put me on his back and carried me up the stairs. And like throughout our entire, the entire time we dated, throughout our marriage, he continues to do stuff like that. And obviously communication is so big in marriage, but there are a lot of unspokens that we have about that. Like he can tell when I'm not feeling well. Mm-hmm. He can tell when I need an extra boost. And so I do get a treatment every 3 weeks. And, you hear people say that marriage is 50-50. Nope. Divorce is 50-50. Like divorce is dividing everything you
That's
have.
The word right there.
People really think about like and I don't, I try to say that like marriage is 100, right? But some days you can only give 30. And in terms of like the things that you're battling. And so like physically, some days I come home from a treatment and I might feel like Superwoman. Some days I come home from a treatment and I cannot do anything. Mm-hmm. And so that's about making sure that you have a partner who is consistently like doing their, built like the ratio might be off, but we're going to be here for each other no matter what. Right. Like I might not be able to contribute today, but I got you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And making sure that we're in constant communication. And, I like to say, Toby uses this phrase about always setting me up, putting me in a position to win. And I like to say that he always puts me in a position to win and to shine.
That's, honey, somebody said it. I forgot who it was. They said that's a whole sermon. A whole word. Let me tell you. The fact when you had me he put me on his back and carried me. Child.
I knew it was real. And it's funny, I shared that with my mom. And she was like, he is as good as gold. Like she loved him. So, because she witnessed it with her own eyes.
Yes. Oh, I love that. What did you say about putting, when you were talking about the 50-50?
50-50 is.
But towards the end, you said something like putting your effort into it. I was writing it down.
Oh, that some days you can only give 30 or 40%, right, depending on how you're feeling, like physically. And I think those are the vulnerable conversations that you have to be able to have with your spouse, right? Like open, vulnerable conversations. And there are times when I say to Toby, babe, I don't feel well, and that's not just physically. I don't feel well emotionally. I can't give 100% Rynetta today. So if you see me like not doing something around the house, or if you see me not contributing in this area, don't think I'm checked out. I cannot do it today. Yeah. And those are the kind of vulnerable, but you have to create that environment, mm-hmm, so that you can have those conversations with your spouse.
Yes. And I think I love all of that. I think it's so important too, because especially as Black women, we always talk about being the strong Black woman and putting on our Superwoman cape. Guess what? I like to say, I don't really want to have on a Superwoman cape because I'm not a Superwoman.
What you say?
And somebody got married. I forgot who it was. It was like Yvonne Orji's friend who got married. And she said something like in her vows, like, you allow me, to her husband, you allow me to take off my Superwoman cape and just be vulnerable and just be me. And that is, for me, like probably one of the best things about marriage. That vulnerability, that allowing us as women, and especially as Black women, I don't have to be the strong Black woman today. Like you said, today I ain't got it. I don't feel like cooking, or mentally I'm just not there. Or if you have kids, I need you to take the kids today because I'm on the brink of a breakdown. So I need you to hold it down for me so that I can just be me and like fill my cup back up. So I think that's so important. I'm so glad that you shared that. And I love that y'all have that, because it doesn't matter if you have a disease or illness or not. Like you said, it's not just physically, it's mentally, it's
Yeah,
spiritually. Like life can be draining, and just having someone there just makes it so much better. I
yeah,
love that. This is a whole, somebody said, that's amazing to be vulnerable, to say I have 30% today. It is. And
it
that's
is.
what marriage and being with someone you can be vulnerable with, that's what it's about.
And you have to, I think you have to cultivate that
Mm-hmm.
environment. You have to create an environment that, and that's a process, right? But where you can be open and honest with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. Um, Something that you and I always talk about, and again, feel free to share how much or how little. I know we always talk about the topic of children, and you and I have had some really personal conversations about it, and the fact that although people mean well, a lot of times we
Right.
get judged, because you and I, we've been married for a while now, but neither one of us have children for different reasons.
Right.
And for me, my personal reason, we just haven't had children yet, whether it's infertility or whatever. There's actually nothing wrong with me. I've had plenty of tests, so I guess you could say I'm infertile, but I really hate speaking that over my life,
Right.
even though it is reality. But a lot of people will judge, and so they'll see me and say, "Oh, you don't have kids? Well, you must not want kids, or why don't you want kids, or y'all not trying?" It's like there's already the assumption of like, I'm not trying, or you better give that man a baby, and it's just like, well, what? Give him a baby? Like, what are we talking about?
What about me?
Like what about? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the one who actually birthed the baby.
Right.
So, just kind of talk a little bit about that, because I know what my choices were, and I know what your choices have been, and how you too have felt that judgment from people.
Yeah, and that's another really great question and topic, because a lot of societal pressure, people put societal, cultural, familial, families put pressure on people, and you really have to know who you are
Mm-hmm.
as an individual and as a couple, or you'll crumble under that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget one Sunday after church, there's a woman who is from an area close to my hometown, and we were talking, and she asked us how long me and Toby had been married, and I think at the time it had been like 15 or 16 years, and she was like, do y'all have children? I said, no, we're not parent material. That's not our desire. But before, she was like, so y'all not working on that? And I was like, did I just not say that that's not our desire? And so I think people have a tendency to be more concerned about, I saw a t-shirt that was like, worry about your own uterus,
Mm-hmm.
right? People have a tendency to be
Period.
more concerned about, exactly, because those are just really, when I got to the car, I said to Toby, what if we had had 5 miscarriages and we were trying again? Like, you just don't know where people are, and so you need to stay out of people's business. And the decision not to have children was a collective decision. Like, when we first got together, we were both like, that's just not who we are. Like, I have 2 nephews and I love them dearly, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a parental bone in my body. And so, I mean, like, I don't have I'm
I
like,
love that
look
you're
at this
honest
kid.
about it, though.
I just have to, I just think it's so important to be who you are.
Yes.
And I just, that's just not who I am. I will celebrate, like as the Bible says, we weep with those who weep, we rejoice with those who rejoice. I celebrate. I will build up people. I encourage, if that's what you want, but we have to learn how to embrace what people desire for their own lives,
Yes.
and leave it at that. Like, instead of trying to force people to do things that
Mm-hmm.
don't fit who they are.
Exactly. And that applies especially to like our uterus, and whether or not we
Absolutely.
want kids, and our choices, as well as just marriage
In
itself. It's like, what your decision, whether to get married or whether to have children, like that, in order to have a successful marriage, I feel like it's not going to be successful if you can't be authentically you. You have
That's
to be
it.
able to come to the table. This is me. This is Shonda. This is Rynetta, and I don't have to change. Obviously, we grow and we evolve, and there's some like, certain qualities, characteristics about us. Like, we might need to be more patient or something.
Right.
But at the
Right.
core of who we are, at the end of the day, it's like I can show up as my authentic self without feeling like you're going to judge me. And the fact that you and Toby have made that decision together, like, that's just admirable. It's like, because that's your life, and if that's what you want to do, because people always say, well, we're supposed to produce and have kids, and I'm like, well, what about the people who aren't able to produce? Like, what do you say to that? Like, obviously God had a different plan for them. So how are you going to tell us what God's plan is for somebody's life and for somebody's marriage?
And I just saw a comment that said, you never know someone else's story. And so we have to be really, really careful about make it, like you said, I love your use of the word judgment, because that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be careful not to judge people just because they're not doing things the way that we do.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, like even when we do, so like we team teach premarital classes at our church, we talk about like what works for my team might not work for your team. And so you don't side eye people just because, as long as you're not out here like abusing somebody, right? Mm-hmm. What works for us might not work for you, but you don't side eye people and you don't judge just because that's their decision, especially if they came to it together.
Exactly. Insert Jada Pinkett and Will. Listen.
Right.
Listen. Right. As you sip your tea.
Listen, that story.
I don't tend to, you know, this ain't what we here for, but since it is clearly a hot topic, I mean, what Jada and Will do in their house is on them. But it also goes to show that, like, when it comes to looking at relationships and so-called relationship goals, it's like you never know someone's story, and you never know the story behind someone's relationship or their marriage. It's like, yeah, you might have been together for 25, 30 years, but you don't know what it took to get there, or to withstand whatever trials, tribulations. We don't know what Will and Jada got going on. And to be honest, it's none of my business. Now,
right.
If somebody goes on the show and starts talking about it, clearly they've made it everyone's business.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what works for Will and Jada works for them. What works for Rynetta and Toby works for y'all. And that's just how we have to accept that.
Absolutely.
I love that. So switching gears a little bit, what was the pettiest argument you all have ever had?
Okay. So I think the pettiest argument, and I remember this crystal clear because, and I'll tell you the conclusion of it, and this is why I remember it. So we got out the car one Sunday after church, and Toby mistakenly stepped on my shoes. And you know how I am about my clothes. You would have thought that like he didn't come home that night or something, right? The way I reacted like a complete fool. And so he was like, you're really reacting this way over a shoe. I mistakenly stepped on your shoe. So he came in the house. He was like, I'm done. I'm just not talking to you anymore. He came in the house and he fixed his dinner. He was like, I'm not eating with you. So he went to the car in the hot garage and was going to eat his dinner. And I was like, no, wait a minute. I'm eating my dinner with you. So I came to the hot garage eating dinner. We ended up laughing about it because it's like we're two fools sitting in a hot garage eating. But it was so stupid. It was like, I mean, seriously, you would have thought that like he robbed a bank or something.
Yes.
The way that I overreacted over a shoe. And the shoe wasn't even messed up. Like it was, and we had just left church. So he was like, how you gonna just leave church and behave like this?
You let the devil win.
He was like, we just left church. Like, did anything sink in?
And you know, I don't know if you all experienced this, but I feel like Sundays is when the devil really tries me in our marriage. It's like he tries to come for us.
On the way to church, the most heated, so we call arguments heated fellowships. The most heated fellowships we have ever had have been on the way to worship the Lord. And you get out the car still mad, trying to like pull it together so that folks are like, what's wrong with them?
And then like, good morning. Right.
Right. So that's number one. And number two, let me tell you, anytime we get ready to do something marriage ministry related, it's like the devil is like, oh, hell no.
Yes.
Hell no. I'm getting ready to mess with y'all. I mean, we've been preparing to teach, like team teach premarital. This is so funny because several people are like,
So, that's a hashtag heated function. Listen, she uses it all the time, okay?
Just I mean, we have had some heated, intense, and we have to do this like a timeout, like, because you know how it is. You start to up the ante.
Yes.
You start to get like one person says something and you like, oh, I'm getting ready to go I'm going for the dig.
Well, some of us,
some people. So you kind of like have to peel back like, wait a minute, this is not going in the right direction. We need to take a strife break. But those are the moments where anything marriage ministry, and like you said, on Sundays, listen.
Yeah, listen, that Sundays. That's why I never liked, and part of the reason why I ask that question is because I want women to know, especially as married women, like, you're not alone in this,
No.
any type of relationship. Like, because sometimes you have an argument. I know my first year marriage, I was like, is this what I signed up for, Lord? Like, what is
Right.
going on? Because it was just like those growing pains and stuff, and
Yep.
you feel alone and you kind of embarrassed. It's like, I don't want people to know that we're arguing. It's like, girl, like, everybody goes through it. It's growing pains, and like, it's a part of marriage. Because honestly, I don't believe people when they're like, oh, we never argue. I'm like, somebody's either lying, or they're lying to
Right.
themselves, or they're lying to their partner. They're not being authentic, because you're going to have disagreements. And I think the thing with Sundays, I feel like the devil hates marriage so much.
Yep.
I mean, he
Yep.
probably comes for single people on Sundays too. But in
Right.
my situation, I just feel like he comes so extra hard because he hates marriage. Because when you think
For
about
sure.
marriage and the union and the beauty that it provides and the example of God's love that it shows, he's like, I don't want y'all to see that. He's like, ain't nobody got time for that. I don't want
Right.
nobody seeing all
Right.
this love and families and stuff. And so I really feel like he just tries to come extra hard because he knows, like, if people see this, people will want this, and people will want to love each other. He's like, I don't want them to love each other. So I totally understand that. Somebody said,
my sis Tasha said her first year of marriage, she was like, Harpo, who this man I married? Listen, I understand that. You were like, wait a minute, I dated somebody completely different.
listen,
Yep.
it's like, what do they talk about when you send the representative? Uh-oh. Are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. It looks,
Did the screen.
yeah, it's kind of like, it's like purple lines or something.
Yep, I see. Do you want me to X out and log back in?
Yes, just come back in. I'll let you back in.
Okay.
Stay patient with us, folks. We're having a little technical difficulties, but we're not going to let a Teddy Riley moment ruin this, because this is just too good, okay? This is just too good. And there she goes. She's back. View. All right. And she's coming. Somebody said, Michi, you said she's on the floor. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Boom. I said, we're not going to let Teddy Riley moment ruin this.
No.
This is too good.
We are not going to let Teddy, we're not going to have a Teddy Riley moment.
Which I love Teddy, but not tonight, Teddy. Okay?
Right, not tonight.
We ready like Teddy, not Teddy
Right.
Riley. Okay?
Right. But that's true, that like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing, like you start to think, wait a minute. And it's because you haven't been in the same space consistently, if you didn't live together before, and you're figuring each other out.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Somebody said, Teddy, are you there? He better not be today.
Right. No Teddy.
No Teddy. And thank you all, everyone who's tuned in. Make sure if you have questions, drop them in the comments. We love the comments and you all's interaction. Like, if there's something you want to ask, feel free to drop in the comments, or in the question, use the question tool. Feel free to drop it there. What is a marriage myth that you want to debunk as it relates, like something maybe that you heard? And even kind of like part two of that is like, what's kind of the best advice someone ever gave you, or that you've learned through being married?
So I think the biggest thing that I want to debunk, really like two part. One is that marriage is 50-50, right? Like, totally want to debunk that, because you got to bring your whole self into, except for obviously, like I said, those times when you are vulnerable and you admit that you can't, like, right. But also that marriage can't be fun. That sort of like, people get married and it's like, oh, I'm married now. So they let themselves go. They stop caring about their image. They stop caring about the things that they did while they were dating. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, we married. And marriage can still be so much fun. It can still be and it should be, right? Like, there's so much chaos going on in the world. Like, my house needs to be the safest space I got, right? I need to be able to open the door. For me, there are so many things you can do to keep things fresh. And to keep things exciting and fun. Like, I look forward to hearing the garage door come up and meeting Toby at the door. Like, those are the things that, like, I'm like, oh, wait, it's 5:00. I'm not going to be on the phone. I'm not going to be distracted. He's going to get my undivided attention. And so I think that that's one of the biggest myths. One of the, I think, most encouraging things that I've learned is that, like, literally, it's like a sleepover every night. for
Oh,
me, like a sleepover with my, obviously we have those moments where you get ready. I mean, like if we keep it 100, like that's all I know how to do. We have those moments where you're like in a heated fellowship and you're like, we're not going to let the sun go down on our anger. This isn't resolved. I love you. I don't want nothing to happen to you. I'm a little upset with you, but we're going to go to bed, and we're going to go to bed in the same place, right?
yep.
We're sleeping in the same bed. If you tell me you going to sleep upstairs, you better make room for me because I'm coming too. You going to sleep on the couch, I'm sleeping on top of you. And the first couple of years, it's those moments where you get so upset with each other, and Toby's like, well, I'm going to go on the couch. I'm going to be right on top of you. If you can sleep, if you can breathe with me sleeping on top of you, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think just knowing that marriage should be fun. It should be the safest space you have. No one in the world should know more about you than your spouse does. And that,
Period.
yeah. I mean, I have like laundry list of things that I want to tell Toby when he gets home that have happened like during the day,
Oh, yeah.
like things, but so, and I say that to say too, like I have to pull back because when we first got married, I would meet him at the door with like, this needs to be done. That needs to be done. This needs to be done. That needs to be done. Right. And
Yep.
the first, couple months, it was fine. But like one day, I think he had reached his breaking point and we were on our way to church here again. We were on our way to church for like Bible study. And he was like, blah, 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 blah. And so after I got through my tears, and
You know what he said? He said, that's crazy.
Right. Oh my God. If he says that's crazy or wow, that means he has not heard a word. I said we actually laughed hysterically last night because I told him a story and he said, wow, that's wild. I said, what did I say? And so he gave me like the end of what I said. I was like, but tell me the beginning, the context. And I was like, it's okay to admit, Rynetta, I'm not listening. I didn't hear you. So, and using moments like that, those moments of levity but it took us, it's a process. We're still getting there because very early in our marriage, that would have turned into, you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
That would have turned, that could have turned east left.
Yes. Somebody else said, that's my husband.
If he says that's crazy, I'm like, oh Lord.
Yes. Because
he's heard nothing I've said.
Right. It was somewhat of a little inside joke, everyone, because Toby has admitted that, like, I think he posted a meme or something, but he was like, if I've ever said, man, that's crazy, he probably wasn't listening.
You need to ask him to repeat.
Right. Because Eric has done the same thing. I'm like, you ain't listening.
Eric goes to the upper room.
Yeah. Like he said, I go to the upper room. I'm like, he could be looking dead at me. And I'm like,
not here.
You're clearly not. And he's like, I hear you. I'm like, you hear me, but you're not listening.
Right.
But to your point, like you said, I love that. I love that you also kind of checked yourself. Like, I probably needed to like tone it down, because I think a lot of times people forget that, or people don't realize until you get married, it's like looking at a mirror.
Yep.
And you can't always be like, you need to do this, you need to do that, which makes me think about, like, is there something, because again, I'm all about like transparency and growing. Is there something that you learned about yourself, even being married, that you were like, oh, wow, I didn't know that I did X, Y, and Z, or that I needed to like work on that, or that I could maybe improve that, like they call it, areas of opportunity?
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I've always been so independent and so headstrong that when Toby is really laid back. And so when my mom first met him, she was like, oh, Lord, you're going to run all over him. They call me by my middle name at home. And so she was like, I even heard her telling a friend, Sherry just going to run all over him. Like, he's so laid back. It takes a lot to rattle him. I'm nervous for him. But then I'll never forget, she overheard, and I don't know how she overheard us, but I asked him for something right before we were about to get married. And he was like, no. And so I was like, but babe, I think, I'm going down the laundry list of reasons why we should do it. And he was like, Rynetta? I said, no, this conversation is done. Like, it's not in the budget. I said, no. And my mom overheard it. And she said to her friend, that boy gonna be all right. Because she was really worried that like I would, and And that's the one thing that I have had to learn, is that I am so headstrong that if I'm not careful, I won't allow him to be the man. I'll jump into, and I have to watch it even in interactions, like if we're ordering food, or if we're, and I have to be careful not to bring my expertise, like what I'm doing in the classroom, where I have to be the authority figure, into our home. Like I have to shut that off. And it's a
Yes.
process. I mean, some days I don't do it well, where I'll lean over and say, what he meant to say was,
Right.
and he's like, I mean, I'm right here. I can handle this. And that has actually been one of our biggest challenges, is me reining in, not trying to control situations.
Yeah, that's real. I'm seeing a lot of hearts too. Everybody's, I know y'all feeling that, because we all struggle with that. Well, a lot of us do. You know, just being whether you're independent as a single woman, or you grew up and your mom was a single mom, like my mom, like being independent, that was definitely something that I had to work on. It's like, it's what made me who I am. So I embrace it. But like you said, sometimes there were situations where I wasn't allowing Eric to be that man that he wanted to be, whether it was trying to take the groceries in or just trying to help me lift something. It's like, no, I got it. It's like,
Right.
I don't have to have the extra, neck roll or
Right.
facial. Sometimes my facials can say a lot.
Yep.
And so being aware of that and how I say things, or just like you said, whether it's cutting off or trying to, like, speak on based on your expertise and stuff. It's like, I had to be mindful of that, so that I didn't make him feel like, well, I don't need you anyway.
Exactly. And it's because several people are saying that's like, somebody saying my way is not always the best way, or my way may not work for him. And somebody else said that classroom teachers are the worst. And I get it, because you are like you put on that authority persona, and
Yes.
if you don't check yourself, and again, it's a process. I have not arrived. I still catch myself. And Toby is great about like not checking me in that moment.
Yes.
But later he's like, I had that. I really didn't need you to. And then I can sort of see the look on his face, like, I mean, please just let me be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love the vulnerability and the transparency, because it's so important that we as women remember that. It's like, we're not going to be perfect, and he's not going to be perfect. And it's like, knowing, for you to admit, like, I'm still growing and I'm still learning to do that.
Absolutely.
It's so honest and real. And that's why I want Wives Wind Down. This is why we're here, because, there's all these things about how, what to do to get a man and find a man.
Right.
Obviously, I've written books about, don't be a wife to boyfriend, all that type of stuff. But then I do see that sometimes when people get married, especially even for me, my own experience, you get married and you just kind of like, well, now what do I do? Like,
how do I make this work?
Yes, and make it work. And how do we stay happy and healthy, and just owning the fact that it's not going to be happy every day.
Yeah.
Radiance says, hi, Radiance. My husband reminds me not to use my teacher voice at home.
Yes.
Speaking for teachers, we have a lot of in my friends, including you and others, there are a lot of educators, and sometimes we can feel that even as your friends. But we love y'all regardless.
Right.
We love you yet and still. One of the last questions: what do you love most about being married?
For me, it's being able to share my life with somebody who has shared interest. And it's being able to enjoy, like, I feel like I'm constantly just on this is a lifelong slumber party, and somebody who accepts me as I am, all my quirks, all my idiosyncrasies. And that's not to say that we don't grow and we don't evolve, right? I'm not one of those people who's like, I am who I am. You accept
Right.
me the way I am, right? We should change. We should evolve. We should become better people day by day, right? But for me, it's just somebody who accepts me genuinely as I am and encourages me to be who I am. Like, not to hide, not to cover over, but to be the Rynetta that God created me to be. And I was thinking about this the other day. So I have this tendency to just like get up and be like, hey, babe, let's go to Indianapolis for the day. Hey, babe, let's go to Louisville for the day. And somebody who is like, okay, let's do it, who is willing to just join me in the journey. And that for me is I think one of the best things about being married. That I just somebody said lifelong slumber party. For me,
Yes.
that's what it is. Even if he won't always come to bed with, because I'm like a granny and I go to bed at like 9 o'clock, and sometimes
Yeah,
he's like,
you do.
"Babe, that's way too early."
Right.
Which is funny because early in our marriage, he would come to bed. Some of the best advice you asked us earlier that I received right before we got married was that there is no. The person said to me, "There's no reason why you all shouldn't have sex every night and shouldn't go to bed together because it's just the two of you." And so, very early in our marriage, like we would go to bed together like every night. But then my time kept creeping up earlier
Yes.
and earlier. So, but for me, it's about a lifelong slumber party, being able to just enjoy my best friend.
I love that. You got all the hashtags for a lifelong slumber party, heated fellowship. Listen, I've never thought about it as I'm like, that is like a lot, because sometimes that moment at night when it's just you and him, and whether you're watching TV or you just sitting there cracking jokes. Me and Eric make up songs.
I love it.
We're kind of corny, or I will just take on these characters and just act crazy. And I love to hear him laugh. So when he laughs, it
I
just
love it.
tickles my fancy.
I love it.
So
It's
yeah,
the
just
pillow talk.
yeah. Listen,
It's yeah,
pillow
right.
talk.
It's
Mm-hmm.
that moment, and it's funny you say that because it's even not, it's nighttime, but it's in the morning. I love just like being able to wake up and to speak life. Like we have these positive affirmations that we do in the morning. Like, I'm so glad you're my husband. I'm so glad you're my wife, that I get to do life with you. That like, so we set the tone for the day, because when we didn't do that, we sort of felt like we get up, you're like, I love you, but you know, you're not doing things to speak life over that person. And so I think that's the key, but also just getting up and talking about the day. Like that, you know, like I loved my college roommates for that reason. Like we could get up and just kind of party. And the fact that like I can party with my best friend is just that's the thing that stands out, that I love the
I
most.
love that. Now I'm gonna be honest, sis. You know I'm not a morning person. So when I wake up, I need about a good hour or so before. Now we'll pray together, but Eric wants to. Chat. I'm like, I haven't
See, I think
showered
I'm
yet.
like my brother because I wake up ready to have a full conversation.
You and Eric, you know, you and Eric.
I wake up ready to have a full. I'm like, so what we doing? Let's get this day started.
And I'm looking at you like. But again, that's what works for y'all's marriage, and that's what works for ours. It's like, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Right.
The old school saying. And to that point, before we have our rapid round, and you guys, ladies and gentlemen, maybe some fellas on here, feel free to drop your questions if you have any questions before we close out soon.
Somebody said, don't talk to me in the morning.
Listen, I'm trying to tell y'all. Like, don't somebody petite teacher style. We got teachers I represent tonight. Come on,
hey, petite teacher style. Thanks for joining.
Yes, represent. She said, "I'm trying to come on, listen, somebody. I can be happy go lucky, but when I'm getting up, I need about a good. Give me 50 feet. Is basically what I say. Right. Give me 50 feet. What advice would you give those who are married and maybe those who aspire to be married? Any advice you want to, you know, wisdom? You shared a lot of wisdom already, but
you're sweet. So to people who are married, I would say continue to learn your spouse, right? This is a lifelong journey. We do not like arrive just because you married somebody. You
Bingo.
think it is and I think if we learn that it's a process, we will really enjoy the journey. And I think, so we spend a lot of time, like we'll put one study down and we pick up another one. And I think it's important, like, you know, you name it, love and respect, the 5 love languages, making sure you subscribe to things like to your page where you're getting nuggets and you're talking about those things. You're constantly in dialogue about the way to make your marriage progress, because if not, it gets stagnant. And I think the other really, really big thing is having accountability partners, like knowing, like what you said at the beginning, right? Knowing that if I call you and say, sis, was I wrong about this? That you're going to give me the real. You're not going to tell me what I want to hear. You're going to tell me what I need to hear. And that my sorority special said something years ago that I will never ever forget, that you surround yourself with accountability partners that both spouses feel comfortable with, right? Not a situation where the wives get along and the husbands don't. I mean, that's crazy, right? But she also said, when you share something with somebody, share it with someone who isn't going to think differently about your spouse after you shared it. And that is the key, that like I could be vulnerable and open with you, and I know you that you're never going to look at Toby differently, right? If I say he didn't take the trash out, he didn't fill the gas tank, which is funny because that happened this morning, right? So he drove the car that he doesn't typically drive, and I got in the car and I was like, this car only has 3 more miles left. So actually I think it had like 16, so it had enough just for me to go get my coffee and bring the car back for him to put the gas in it. And not because I'm incapable of pumping gas. That's just, we have like a list of things, right? We have I check the mail. He fills the gas tank, but the point is, if I share that with you, that you're not going to think, oh, he's a low down, dirty dog.
Right.
And the next time you see him, you treat him differently. Right. So it's finding accountability partners that are going to encourage you. I always like to think that it's birds of a feather flock together. It's not just that they flock together, but they reach the same destination. So making sure that you're with people who have the same marriage minded goals, right?
Listen, I couldn't even write fast enough. That was a whole word. And you're so right. Especially people have to be careful about your accountability partners, as well as family and telling. I remember our first year of marriage, me and Eric got into this heated argument. But my mom was coming into town and she knows I can't fake it. Like, keep it real. But I said, Mom, listen, Eric and I are having a really bad disagreement. We're going to be all right. We're going to work through it. But just know. And she was like, okay. And she let it go. I didn't need to get into the details because, like you said, you don't want people judging you or even your marriage. Like, you want to have a trustworthy group that can actually, listen and provide like sound, godly wisdom. So I love that.
Somebody said I need more marriage-minded single friends because my current single friends think I'm weird.
Well, guess what? That's what Wives Wind Down is here.
Yeah.
Somebody else, hey Robin, trying to get married. Talk to people who are where you are trying to get to. Exactly.
That's good.
It's so good because they always say, why would you talk to a millionaire, or you can't learn how to be a millionaire if from somebody who's never been a millionaire. And it's like, right. And it's like, so why wouldn't you talk to other married women, like, and even people who have been married and maybe they got divorced, like, because they can still provide lessons as well. It's like, why wouldn't you want to surround yourself around those type of people? But to the other young lady's point earlier, it's like, that's why we're here. This is why we have Wives Wind Down. So you can come here, you can get, the information that you need, and you can be surrounded with sisters like us.
Absolutely.
So while you all get your questions together, if you have any questions, feel free to jot them down. Sis has been killing it.
You're sweet.
So blessed that you're on here. But wrap around, it's just 10 quick questions, and you have to say the first answer that comes to mind. Just keep it real. So number 1, toilet paper, over or under?
See, I don't care. I just want Charmin. If I got Charmin, I don't care if it's over or under, as long as I can use Charmin.
My granny used to use Charmin, but my mom was convinced that it would stop clogging up the toilets because Charmin is thick.
It is. But your brother will buy 1 ply. And I'm like, no. He says toilet paper is just toilet paper. No.
Eric went and bought 90 things, some 90 pack of toilet paper. He said it's 2 ply. When I tell y'all, it feels like half a ply. Half a ply. So if anybody needs toilet paper,
you can supply it.
Right. The Black White House got you. Somebody says Scott, but it's got to be over. All right.
It's got to be over.
Toothpaste, squeeze or fold?
Squeeze.
Okay, I'm squeezing. Sex in the morning, during the day, or at night?
During the day.
I love day sex. Listen, we love Jesus, but we love,
Right.
Beach vacation or cold cabin getaway, if I can talk tonight.
The cabin getaway.
Oh, okay. All right. Look at me, judge it. Date night at home or night out on the town?
Date night at home.
Okay, all right. Who sleeps closest to the door?
I do.
Oh, interesting. Have you always been like that?
I like the side that's, I don't know what it is about that side of the bed. But it's funny because now that you say that, when I think about when we go to a hotel, it's Toby.
Uh-huh. And see,
Yep.
when I go to a hotel, I like to be close to the door. If I'm next to the wall, I feel like I'm closed in. It's so odd.
Okay.
But at home, I'm close. I'm not close to the door. But at a hotel, I feel like I have to be because I don't know. It's something about being. I don't know. It's weird.
Close to get out, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's crazy. Who's the first to apologize?
Oh, totally me.
Okay.
Toby is like holding, and I'm the first to apologize because I'm like touchy feely. And so I'm like, okay, let's get over so we can make up. And he's like, don't touch me.
He's like holding
Holding
on.
it in. Yep. Yep. If he's mad, it's a wrap.
No sex during the day.
Yeah. If he's mad, it's a wrap. And I'm doing everything I can. I'm touching everywhere. Because that's how I reconnect. That's how I reconnect.
You
so
said I'm touching everywhere.
I'm touching everywhere. I'm like, I love you. You're the sexiest man alive.
I'm done. I already know the answer to this next question, but who cooks more?
Oh my God. I wouldn't even attempt. He does.
And see, ladies, that's yet another thing. It's like what works for their house works for them. You know, there's all these, traditional things. There's some things that like, yeah, you like, but sometimes those things just don't work for your household. And so you just got to do what works best for yours. And then the last one, who takes longer to get ready?
Oh my God, Toby.
Yeah.
Like I can get up after him. And this actually is one of the things that turns into arguments on Sundays, like going to church. I can get up after him and still hear him getting ready. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, you got more clothes. You got more choices. You knew what you were wearing before. And I'm like, let's go. Totally Toby.
Oh my gosh, this has just warmed my heart. I've literally cried
Ditto.
of joy. Before we wrap, I do want you to share your handles and everything where people can find you. As you mentioned earlier, you all, Dr. Rynetta.
You're so funny.
My good girlfriend. She actually has like this cute, stylish, because honey, she's like a little Naomi Campbell out here. Last week I called her and she was like, I have a shoot, but I'll call you back. And I said, okay, shoot, my bad. But she has a cute, like if you're into fashion and stuff, like she posts pics every day and they be on point. And it's one of her styles. So just to let them know where they can follow you or anything you have coming up.
My Instagram handle is really.Rynetta. And it's spelled Rynetta. I don't know what my parents were thinking, but it's really.Rynetta. So, and I blog at reallyRynetta.com.
Yes, absolutely. We are so thankful for you all tuning in tonight. I hope it has blessed you and I hope you had as much fun as we did. I hope I didn't miss any questions. I don't think I did, but we love the interaction and your comments. Make sure you tell your girls about it. Also, I want to cheers on our way out. So grab your glasses, ladies. I'll give you a second. If you just tune in or you missed it earlier, Rynetta is drinking a lovely, what is it? Strawberry lemonade?
Watermelon lemonade.
Watermelon lemonade, which is delicious. So you can have water, wine, whatever. I forgot what this is called. Something black. I forgot the name. I'll get it later. But I just want to cheers to love and the wonderful husbands that love us and all of the women out there who are holding it down as women, as wives, as mothers, as educators, as professionals, as creatives. I cheers to you because I want this to be an outlet where you all can just come, let loose, let your hair down, and just have some good old real talk. Rynetta, do you have anything you want to cheers to?
Just cheers to happiness and seeing that marriage really can be fun. It should not be stale and stagnant.
Yes. And clink, 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 clink. Take y'all's little drink. I'll see y'all in the comments drinking with us. Yes. Well.
Hey, Lacey. Thanks for joining.
Hey.
somebody said they had an excuse for wine. Hey, Jackie. And Lily. This is good. I missed some. By the way, if you did miss the full, because let me tell y'all, Rynetta was dropping some gems. But if you missed the full experience, the Wise Wind Down, tell a friend, tell your girlfriends, and I will be posting this to my Instagram as well as sharing on my Facebook platforms, because I'm sure there were a lot of Facebook people who are still on Facebook and don't know how to use Instagram. So I will be posting the replay so you can catch that, so you can catch those wonderful gems from Rynetta, because we want to send you all positive vibes, love, and light your way. So thank you all for tuning in, and have a wonderful, great week. Thank you, Rynetta. You are
Thanks
my
for
girl.
having me.
You
Thanks for having me.
it.
Love you, big.
Yes. Y'all have a good night. Bye.